Hello everybody, welcome to Huntington Country Club. This is the first hole, and this week we're going to be taking a look at the golf course from high up above. Many of you probably haven't seen the golf course from up above, but this is an enormous advantage for us to be able to look at the golf course, strategize how we can play each holes, and I'm going to be providing tips on the golf course, strategy on how to play each holes, areas to avoid big scores, and just an overall sense of strategy to become more consistent. Because I believe if we train ourselves to think better, we'll inevitably play better. We'll make smart decisions with no emotions, and we'll eliminate the chance for score killers. We're going to keep repeating that over and over. My coach Brian Cregan showed me how to do this on the computer. It allows me to play practice round above without even stepping foot on another property when I go to play a tournament. But it also helps me avoid these score killers, which would be penalty shots off the tee, taking 2 or more shots from 50 yards and in to hit the green, and 3-putting from inside of 40 feet. So this is the first hole, and what you're looking at on the ground here, this cone, right, is to scale 300 yards. Right, from the skinniest part of the cone to the widest part of the cone is 300 yards. Right, from the center blue line to the left edge of the cone is 32 yards, and from the blue line to the other end on the right side of the cone is 32 yards. So we have 64-yard wide cone that starts to taper in as the distance gets closer to 0 yards. And the 64 yards represents, on average, the PGA Tour player's dispersion from the center line with a driver at 300 yards. In terms of score killers on this hole, there's only a few areas of trouble. Obviously, way left off the tee where we have out of bounds over here. And then when the fescue is high and nasty, we need to avoid this whole right side of the hole, but also this area to the right, which is in the landing zone for longer hitters. When the fescue's thick, sometimes we can't even find the golf ball, as well as this area over here. So we have to avoid these areas when they are penal. Right now, this time of year, you can hit a ball in there, get a pretty good lie. So this pretty much allows the long hitters to bomb the ball anywhere on the first hole, have a good lie, and a reasonable approach shot to the green. For the shorter hitters, this fescue on the left and right comes into play on the second shot, especially if we're on the right side. We might have to carry the corner, and it might affect our club decision. We might decide to take a little less club, aim a little more left, and be safe, rather than to take on this fescue. As we approach the green, we see really only one obstacle as we approach the green, this bunker that's about 50 yards short of the green. Pretty much everybody's been in that bunker. Not only is the 50-yard bunker shot the hardest shot in golf, this is just a terrible place to be. Sometimes we can get lucky and it hangs up in the rough, but we have to do our best to avoid this bunker, whether it's laying short or taking a club that we know we can at least carry the bunker, because this area in front really gives you a firm kick towards the green. Now, as you see, I've mapped out the green in terms of the direction of the slope. The red areas are the more severe slopes. This green is sloped from back to front, and everything kind of kicks towards the center except this front right portion. When we're playing this hole, we don't really ever want to try to hit the ball past the center of the green on the fly. Right? These back two bunkers are very difficult in terms of getting the ball onto the green and stopping quickly. So that would be a scenario where we would inevitably probably take 2 shots to hit the green, which adds a stroke, obviously, and would be considered a score killer. Anywhere on this right side over here is okay. Even this bunker is not so bad because you're hitting into the slope versus over here where you're hitting down the slope. So pretty straightforward, pretty simple hole, not a lot of trouble, but you have to avoid this bunker and you have to avoid being behind this green. It's very hard to get the ball onto the surface, and it's very hard to get the ball up and down if you go long. Hole 2 at Huntington is a great opportunity for long hitters to make a birdie. This is one of the holes that I've probably gained the most from in terms of use of technology. I used to lay back between the bunkers and have about 140 yards in. However, once I realized there's a lot more room up in the fairway for my driver, I start having 80 yards in, and I make more birdies from 80 yards than 140, and that's about true for every player in the world. Okay, so you must hit the tee shot at least 245, 250 yards to clear this bunker. Right, the right edge of this cone is still in bounds. So unless I hit a very poor tee shot, which probably happens once a year, my next shot will be played from inbounds. We're going to take a look at a couple different options from this tee box. But you see, the only real trouble, obviously out of bounds, you cannot hit one to the right out of bounds. The only other trouble with hitting driver for a long hitter is if the fescue is thick. Sometimes you'll hit a shot that runs through, and like I said, sometimes you're lucky enough to find it, let alone have a good enough lie to hit the green on your next shot. So we always have to be aware of carry distance from the normal goal tees to the fairway. In line with that bunker is about 180 yards. Right, through the fairway is about 250 yards, and this fairway slopes away from you too, so you have to factor that in with your club selection. Ideally, most hitters are hitting in this 240 yard range, leaving yourself a pretty simple approach to the green. And from the red tee box, it's about 115 yards to clear the bunker. Down the right side, it's closer to 130 yards. We're all going to end up either in one shot or two shots somewhere in this area. Let's take a look at the approach shot now. We're going to hope that everybody is hitting their second shot from somewhere in this red zone. And the approach shot, it's probably one of the simplest approaches. We do have a run up here. We can run the ball up to this green. The green itself is very flat. There's just a little bit of a steep area on the left side, but this green predominantly slopes from back left to front right. Our areas we want to avoid: this right side, again, the theme of the second hole is the right side. This entire right side is out of bounds, right? This bunker's not a bad place to be in. This one, not so much. And these two back bunkers are not your best bargain, right? So it's better to leave this ball, if you're in between clubs, take one less club, and it's okay to leave it just short of the green. You're going to have just a slightly uphill, either chip or even putting from the fringe. And it's really a hole that we can birdie, par, and bogey at the worst. In my opinion, the third hole is probably the toughest shot on the golf course. You have a long par 3 with a very small green, and the green itself has a lot of slope on it. Now, my strategy on this hole depends on where the flag stick is. So if we just take a look at this green, everything kicks forward off the front. We have a steep slope on the left, a moderate to steep slope on the back, and then this whole right side starts to pinch in. Nine times out of 10, if I want to miss this green, I want to leave it short of the green. The only time I don't want to be short of the green is if the flag is in the front of the green. That's a pretty tricky bunker shot. So if the flag is in the front of the green, I might even hit a shot to the middle or the back of the green because it's easier to make par than if I left it in these bunkers. If the flag is on the left if the flag is on the left, I will avoid this left bunker or this left side. I'd rather be in this bunker. The opposite is true if the flag is on the right side of the green. I will do my best not to miss it to the right of this green. It's just a very challenging up and down. So it's not that I'm trying to miss this green, I'm just trying to miss this green in the correct spot. This is not a hole where I make a lot of birdies, but I try my best not to make bogeys on this hole. And even if I make bogey, it won't ruin my day because I've usually either birdied 2 or I have another opportunity for a birdie on 4. All right, I've seen many good rounds end on the fourth hole. It's a very challenging hole. It's very narrow, tough driving hole. I rarely hit driver here. Long hitters don't normally hit driver here. There's just not much of an advantage. There's more of a premium placed on accuracy. A lot of players will elect to hit into this 240 to 250 yard zone. And basically, the only score killer off this tee shot is if you go way left or even just a little right. There's out of bounds guarding this whole right side. Say from the gold tee to this left bunker is about 225, and to the fairway bunker in the center is about 255. From the red and white tee, it's about 160 to this left bunker and about 200 to the center bunker. Really, the only place you can't hit it off this tee is to the right. You're either going to be blocked out on your second shot, you'll kick and go out of bounds, you might hit a tree and go out of bounds, just not the spot you want to be. So it's better off being a little bit left. As we all know, the fourth green has the most amount of slope out of any of the greens at Huntington. Anytime we hit this green from the fairway, it's a good shot. Even if we end up three putting, if the flag's in the front and we hit it towards the back of the green, we know how fast that putt is. Making 5 on this hole is not the end of your day. With that being said, if the flag is in the middle or the back of the green, I still might elect to play to the front of the green because it's an uphill putt, and essentially the only place you cannot hit this ball is over the green. You cannot go long of this green, or else you're going to be lucky to even hit the green on your next shot, let alone get up and down. So the one area I avoid is going long on 4, as well as we cannot go right of this cart path. We'll be lucky if our ball's in bounds. Par on this hole is a fantastic score, and if you hit 2 good shots, you're left with a decent chance at birdie, provided you have an uphill putt. All right, we're here on hole 5, and just as we saw on the fourth hole and even the second hole, this entire right side along the road is out of bounds. We also have out of bounds long of the green. And so essentially where we want to avoid off the tee box is any shot to the right of the red tree. We can get lucky and catch a break and get a good lie over here, but if we aim the shot towards the left-hand side of the largest bunker short of the green, we'll be in good shape for our second shot. Shorter hitters need to avoid the fescue on the left and try to avoid the grass bunkers on the right because they'll both result in a layup just short of the fairway bunker. Pretty simple driving hole. Just avoid the right and you'll avoid a big number. All right, now the approach shot on 5. This green is not very severe. However, towards the back left section and even just the back in general, the ball would kick down into a low area where the rough is usually very thick and it's very hard to hit a shot close from back there. So we really want to try to avoid hitting this shot long. Even if the flag is in the back of the green, I'll usually take the number to the center of the green and maybe add 1 or 2 yards and leave myself 15 feet uphill. I'm not always attacking back flags, especially when there's trouble behind the green. Same thing, anywhere short on this hole is okay. If the flag's on the right side of the green, I'll avoid hitting it in this bunker or right of the green. It's just too hard to get it up and down from there. Also, for the second shot for shorter hitters, we want to make sure to keep the ball on the right side of this fairway. Being in this bunker is no good and very hard to hit the green from there. So basically this bunker and long of this green where you don't want to be. All right, hole 6. Hole 6 is very challenging. Deceptively challenging tee shot. Again, depending on how thick the fescue is, this left side's really not where you want to be. It's better to miss way right in the 7th fairway than it is to miss behind this tree. We've seen some heroic shots. I watched Mr. Basha hook a 5-iron to about 10 feet from under that tree a couple weeks ago, but it takes a spectacular shot to hit the green from there. Shorter hitters, it provides you a wider fairway. However, this bunker that comes into play about 70 yards away from the green, I believe. Not the spot you want to be. Very challenging shot. Yeah, this bunker about 65 yards away from the green. You just do not want to be in there. Very difficult shot. And most of the challenges on this hole, believe it or not, come into play as you approach the green. And as we look at the sixth green, we notice that the first 20% to a third of the green is a big false front, meaning if the ball doesn't get past this red line, the ball will actually roll back to you in the fairway. Not always the worst, especially when the flag is up front. Even just in general, this green is very firm, very hard to hit, and a lot of balls end up in this back bunker, which is no bargain of a shot. We do have a nice generous bank on the right side. If the flag is anywhere in the middle or right side of the green, I'll sometimes use this bank as protection. It'll kick the ball onto the green for me. Otherwise, it's not a bad spot to be short of this green. Same thing, you just don't want to be long. You're going to find no matter where you play golf, being long of the greens usually is not where you want to be. With 9 out of 10 greens sloping from back to front, it's very difficult to chip from behind the green. So strategy on hole number 6, really aim for the middle of the green. If anything, favor a little on the right side because everything will kick to the left. Being left of the green, especially when the flag is on the left side, is a very challenging shot. But not the worst place to be if the flag's on the right side of the green. There we have it, holes 1 through 6. I hope everybody picked up a tip or two to kind of help you plan your shots around the golf course. And like I said, the more you get used to planning and the better you get at planning, even if you're not executing correctly, the process of planning will help you long-term execution-wise, and it'll show you exactly where you need to practice. Is it the tee shots, approach shots, missing left or right of certain flag sticks, or even just being able to commit to hitting a shot to the section of the green? Stay tuned for holes 7 to 12 next time.